Truth be told, in these days we living in, I got more love for dogs than I do for people. You see, a dog doesn't know how to lie. You see, a dog doesn't know how to be fake. And a dog doesn't care about money. All a dog care about is love. Now, the story I'm about to tell you is a real one, with real people and real dogs. Welcome to story time.
Hey, how's it going? Peace and blessings, everybody. Welcome back. Today we got another story time. So get ready for this one because unfortunately somebody died. This somebody, their name was Sandra Piovesan. She was a 50-year-old woman living in Salem Township, Pennsylvania. She owned a pack of 9 wolf dogs. Okay. These are referred to as wolf hybrids, but they're wolf dogs. The neighbors described her as deeply caring, and she treated the animals like they were her children. Okay, that she was a true animal lover, and she loved this wolf pack that she cared for like her kids. Okay, so we're talking about somebody deeply devoted. Okay, so to the average person, having a wolf is like damn near having a crocodile in your pool for a pet, for a water pet. Okay. But to Sandra, having a wolf pack was like caring for some little Chihuahua puppies. It was like caring for some little Cocker Spaniel puppies. Okay. They were like so sweet and lovely to her. Okay. So we have to go in the mind of Sandra and really live and walk in her shoes to understand this story. And it all started when Sandra decided she wanted to move to a very rural, wooded area in Salem Township. Okay. And she found a property. Okay. And was very fascinated by how majestic it looked and how independent the nature out there looked. Okay, so basically, she bought a nice property where she could have her own privacy. She had a few acres, and kind of away from the city. Okay, she still had neighbors, but she was away from the city. Now, because she was legally registered a breeder, local news reports and organizations classified her as a wolf dog breeder. Okay. However, the neighbors and family members noted that she never ran the property like a commercial business. She didn't sell puppies for profit. She actually kept the litters. She actually kept the puppies from the breedings that she had on her property. Every single one she kept. So she acquired her first wolf dog hybrid puppy, right? Then she immediately falls in love with the animal's intense loyalty and wild nature. Okay. You have people out there like that. Okay. You have some people that, even with other animals, that they just fall in love with what they are and how they look. And, that's kind of how I look at snake breeders. Okay. You got people that are in love with venomous snakes. Okay. Cobras. And they call them reptile enthusiasts. Okay. Yeah. You have a lot of people that have, I wouldn't call it fetishes, but passions, just a unique passion for certain animals and species of dangerous creatures. Over several years, Sandra expands her collection. She breeds, she acquires more wolves out of these breedings. Eventually, she's building a pack. Okay. Now she's developing a pack from these breedings. Now she has 9 wolf dogs. Okay. Not one, not 2, not 4, 9, okay, in her backyard on her property. Okay, now this is getting serious. Okay, when you have this many type of wolves on your property, you better know what you're doing. Man, woman, professional, expert, whatever you want to call yourself, you have a serious responsibility on your hands right now. Meanwhile, while all of this is going on and turning into something, the neighbors, they see what's going on, okay? The neighbors report that the animals are starting to look like pure wolves, massive, long-legged, and just natural, aloof dogs, okay, with the real wolf presence on her property. Can you imagine how nervous her neighbors are probably becoming? Can you even imagine seeing your neighbors raising wolves, massive wolves? And here you are with your family, your kids, your wife, and your teacup dog. And you see these wolves growing, becoming more crowded next door at your neighbor's property. Can you imagine the nervousness and the anxiety as a neighbor you're going through right now, seeing what's going on? They don't even bark. Okay. So I can imagine the howling that's going on in that area every day. Now, Sandra was still fully aware of what she was doing and the enclosure that she had to provide for these wolves to give them a proper home when she was doing all of this breeding. She still had an enclosed backyard with a secure, heavy-duty chain link fence, okay? She spent hours interacting with them daily, feeding them raw meat, believing she had formed a deep, unbreakable bond as the leader of their pack. She was once famously quoted by a neighbor as saying they gave her unconditional love. Now, on July 17th, 2006, Sandra failed to show up for a meeting with her daughter. She had a daughter. Concerned, her estranged husband went to her property to check on her. Now, when the husband showed up to the house and he looked into the large backyard enclosure, he found and saw the pack of wolf dogs were acting strange, very strange, and just looking at him strange and walking around strange. Sandra was dead inside of the pen. The subsequent investigation and auto spy revealed a grim reality. Man, this was a nightmare. Sandra had not suffered a medical emergency first. She had been targeted, turned upon, and actively hunted, y'all, by her own pack. The coroner determined she died from multiple traumatic injuries and blood loss after being attacked so many places and so many times by the animals she had raised. He immediately calls 911. The state troopers and humane officers arrive very fast, forcing them to find a way to safely enter the cage. July 18th, 2006, the findings shatter any theories that Sandra died of a medical emergency. Like, they thought she had a heart attack at first or a stroke in the house when the husband saw her, until he got closer and seen the whole scene. Before the dogs touched her, the medical evidence proves that she was alive when the attacks began, dying from massive blood loss and multiple traumatic injuries. With Sandra gone now, the state determined that the animals were too dangerous to rehome or place in sanctuaries. Humane officers just tranquilized all 9 wolf dogs, then transported them off the property and humanely euthanized them, closing the final chapter on the tragic experiment. Now, let's conclude the video. This is not a horror story, but it's an educational warning to use the fact that animals had to be euthanized to show that keeping high content hybrids usually always ends in a tragedy for both the human and the animals. And to my knowledge, okay, and my experience and my research with these dogs, I believe that Sandra probably tripped, slipped, or sustained a small injury and shown a moment of flash of weakness or fear while inside that pen. And this is the thing, y'all. In a domestic dog, a tripping owner might cause a dog to lick the face. A dog might lick you if they see you got hurt or they see you're in pain. But with a wolf hybrid, a sudden fall or one display of weakness can instantly trigger a predatory or dominant response. Once the first animal struck, the pack mentality kicked in right away, overrode any domestic training that they had, that she gave them, and the rest of the pack joined in. So she lost her alpha status in a moment of a flash because she probably could have slipped, fall, or just hurt herself on accident while in that pen with the wolf pack. She lost her alpha status in a moment's, seconds of notice. And they saw that. God bless Sandra's soul in this nightmare and terrible situation, because Sandra didn't hurt anybody. She wasn't a bad person. She wasn't a dangerous person. She wasn't an evil person. She was just somebody who had a passion for a dangerous wildlife breed. Okay. And she's not the only one to have this passion and dedication and commitment. No, we all love nature. Okay. We all love wild animals. Okay. But there's a certain way you go about seeing these animals and really being around these animals. Okay. You have a professional enclosure, you have supervision, you have management, and you have a professional staff always working 24/7 or on standby with emergency equipment always around. Okay. You don't bring these creatures to your house where you live without all of the supervision and management and staff and precautions. You don't take that risk. And that's where Sandra made her fatal decision. Sandra was a mother. She was a good person. She was a daughter. And she just had a passion and a love for wildlife, for wolf dogs. God bless her soul. And that wraps up this episode of Storytime.